It all started with a text message, a simple, dismissive string of words that cut deeper than any insult could. Hey, just wanted to let you know the guest list is finalized, and we had to make some tough cuts. Hope you understand. Love you. Tough cuts. Tough cuts. I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling as I read those words for the 5th time. I wasn't some distant cousin or an old family acquaintance whom they hadn't seen in years. I was her brother. Her flesh and blood brother. The same brother who had been there for Emily through every crisis life threw at her. Heartbreaks, financial struggles, moments of self-doubt. You name it. And now, she had casually shoved me aside like I didn't matter. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My chest tightened, a slow wave of disbelief spreading through me. Was this really happening? I picked up the phone and dialed my mother, hoping against hope that this was a mistake. She answered on the second ring, her voice chipper as if nothing was wrong. Hey, sweetheart, what's up? No small talk. I went straight to the point. Mom, I just got a message from Emily saying I'm not invited to her wedding. What's going on? There was a pause, long enough to confirm my worst fears. Then came her sigh, the kind reserved for when she thought I was being unreasonable. Oh, honey, don't make such a big deal out of this. It's just a wedding. Just a wedding? My voice rose despite my attempt to stay calm. Mom, I'm her brother. How am I not invited to my own sister's wedding? She made a tisk-ng sound, as though I were overreacting. It's not personal, she said. They had to keep the guest list small. Small? I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. Later that evening, scrolling absent-mindedly through social media, I stumbled upon Emily's latest Instagram post, a photo of her holding a clipboard with the caption, finalizing details for 150 amazing guests. 150 people. Not small. Not even close. The betrayal burned hotter than ever. I remembered selling my beloved car to help Emily pay off her student loans. Missing out on a career-defining promotion because I had to move back home to care for our ailing grandmother while Emily jetted off to Europe. Sitting by her side night after night during her last breakup, reassuring her that she deserved better. All those sacrifices, and now I was deemed expendable? Then came the final blow. As I sat on the edge of my bed, staring blankly at the wall, my eyes landed on an old photograph tucked into the corner of my dresser mirror. It was us, Emily and me, years ago. She was smiling brightly, completely carefree, while I stood beside her, one arm protectively around her shoulders. Back then, I would have done anything to shield her from pain. But now, looking at that picture, I realized how much things had changed. This wasn't just about being excluded from a wedding anymore. It felt like being erased entirely. As the weight of Emily's betrayal settled in, I made a decision that would change everything, not just for me, but for how my family saw their own actions. Instead of sulking or trying to reason with them, I chose to take control of the situation in the most satisfying way possible. I booked a luxury vacation at an exclusive Caribbean resort, the same resort where Emily had once gushed about wanting to take her wedding photos. Oh yes, irony was my new best friend. I didn't hesitate. With clenched fists and a heart still simmering with anger, I grabbed my laptop and started searching for flights. Every click felt like a declaration. If they thought I wasn't important enough to be part of their perfect day, then I'd show them what perfection really looked like. Within an hour, it was done. A 5-star all-inclusive package awaited me. Ocean view suite, spa access, private beach, the works. Normally, I'd have convinced myself such extravagance was too expensive, too indulgent. But not this time. This wasn't just a holiday. It was a statement. While packing, something caught my eye. A small photograph tucked into the corner of my dresser mirror. It was us, years ago. Emily stood there, smiling brightly, carefree as always, while I hovered protectively beside her. Back then, I'd do anything to shield her from pain. Now, staring at that picture, I couldn't help but feel the sting of how much things had changed. She had thrown me aside without a second thought, treating me as disposable when it suited her. That realization ignited a fire inside me. If she could cut me out so coldly, then fine, I'd cut myself off entirely. No more bending over backward for a family that refused to value me. Before leaving, I decided to add one final touch to my act of defiance. I edited a photo of myself wearing a sharp suit, standing next to a fake bride, a composite image I pieced together. The caption? The perfect wedding, without all the drama. I posted it online, knowing full well it would find its way back to my family. Let them see exactly what they were missing, and let them know I wasn't sitting around moping. Far from it. I was thriving. As I boarded the plane, sipping champagne in first class, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger still bubbled beneath the surface, but there was also relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't putting my family's needs above my own. I was prioritizing myself, and damn, did it feel good. Looking out the window as we soared above the clouds, I realized something profound. This trip wasn't just about escaping their drama. It was about reclaiming my worth. And as far as I was concerned, they could choke on their guilt trips and excuses. I was done being their fallback plan. The chaos at Emily's wedding unfolded like a slow-motion train wreck, and I couldn't have asked for better karma if I'd scripted it myself. Melissa, my sharp-witted cousin who always seemed to know everything first, called me the next morning with a blow-by-blow account of what happened. Her voice was equal parts excitement and disbelief as she recounted how the day had spiraled into absolute disaster. It all started during the reception when Emily and the groom got into a heated argument over something trivial, or so everyone thought. Apparently, tensions had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks, but no one expected things to explode so publicly. In front of 150 guests, their disagreement escalated into a full-blown shouting match. The groom accused Emily of lying about her finances and disrespecting his family by excluding them from key decisions. Then, without another word, he walked out. Just like that. No dramatic exit, no grand gesture. Just a man in a suit storming off while everyone stared in stunned silence. But that wasn't even the worst part. Within minutes, the groom posted a scathing rant on social media, calling Emily manipulative and selfish. He tagged her profile and shared screenshots of private messages where she allegedly insulted his parents. The post went viral almost instantly, racking up thousands of comments within hours. Guests began recording videos of the chaos, some laughing nervously, others shaking their heads in disapproval. Social media exploded with memes mocking Emily's perfect wedding, and soon enough, our family name became synonymous with drama and dysfunction. Melissa told me how quickly the atmosphere turned toxic. Guests started leaving en masse, many muttering under their breath about how they'd never seen such an embarrassing spectacle. The venue staff, overwhelmed by the commotion, shut down the bar early, leaving half-empty glasses scattered across tables. Even the DJ packed up and left mid-event, claiming it was too stressful to continue. Meanwhile, Emily stood frozen at the center of it all, tears streaming down her face as she clutched her bouquet like a lifeline. And then came the final blow. Grandma collapsed. She had been sitting quietly in the corner, sipping champagne and watching the events unfold with growing horror. When the groom stormed out, she muttered something about karma under her breath. But when the social media posts started circulating, she lost it completely. According to Melissa, she stood up dramatically, pointed a shaky finger at Emily, and declared, "You brought this upon yourself. If you hadn't treated your family so poorly, none of this would have happened." Moments later, she fainted, hitting the floor with a thud loud enough to send everyone scrambling. An ambulance arrived shortly after, whisking her away to the hospital. As Melissa relayed these details, I could hear the tension in her voice. She explained that the entire family was now pointing fingers at each other. Grandma blamed Emily for offending the universe by cutting me out of the guest list. Mom accused Emily of being too prideful and ignoring advice. And Emily? Well, she lashed out at everyone, accusing them of failing to support her enough. It was a blame game of epic proportions, with no clear winner. What struck me most was Melissa's observation. Aunt Lisa had openly criticized Mom during the argument, saying, "This is exactly why we should have listened to him. He always fixes everything when things go wrong. Where is he now? Probably laughing at us." That comment sent Mom spiraling into defensive mode, yelling back that Lisa didn't understand anything about raising children or planning weddings. Uncle Rob chimed in too, accusing Dad of ruining the family's reputation by not stepping in earlier. The whole thing devolved into shouting matches, slammed doors, and tearful accusations. By the time Melissa finished telling me everything, I was both amused and slightly horrified. Amused because every ounce of hypocrisy in my family was finally laid bare, and horrified because I knew deep down that none of this would have happened if they hadn't treated me like an afterthought in the first place. Still, There was a twisted satisfaction in knowing that the very people who dismissed me were now begging for help. As the chaos of Emily's wedding unraveled, my phone became a battlefield, but I wasn't about to surrender my peace for their mess. Notifications poured in like a flood, texts from Mom, desperate voicemails from Emily, even Uncle Rob chiming in with accusations that I was selfish and ruining everything. But none of it mattered. I sat under the shade of a cabana, sipping a tropical drink garnished with an umbrella, scrolling through their frantic messages with detached amusement. They had excluded me when it suited them. Now they wanted me to swoop in as their savior? Not happening. Melissa called again, her tone breathless with excitement. "You won't believe this," she said, barely pausing for air. Emily begged the groom to come back. He shut her down cold. She even started calling his friends, trashing him left and right. Now people online are tearing her apart. I couldn't help but laugh. Karma was truly serving her best looks at the moment. Melissa added sarcastically, "Guess who everyone blames now? Oh yeah, because apparently, if you were there, none of this would have happened." The irony was almost poetic. The same family that cut me out was now clinging to the idea that I could have fixed everything. Feeling particularly inspired, I grabbed my phone and opened the photo app. Earlier, I'd taken a picture of myself in a sharp suit on the resort's private beach. Using an editing app, I superimposed a fake bride next to me, a random stock image, and captioned it, "The perfect wedding, without all the drama." I posted it online, knowing full well it would find its way back to them. Within minutes, comments flooded in. Cousins joked, "Bro, you're really rubbing it in," while others simply laughed at the absurdity. Meanwhile, my family scrambled, trying to salvage what little dignity they had left. When another call came through, this time from an unknown number, I silenced it immediately. I didn't need to hear their guilt trips or desperate pleas. For once, I wasn't bending over backward for anyone. This vacation wasn't just a getaway. It was my declaration of independence. And honestly, it felt incredible. As the dust from Emily's wedding disaster began to settle, the cracks in our family's foundation widened into chasms. My mother, ever the fixer, hired a lawyer to manage the growing media storm. Except her attempt at damage control only made things worse. Local reporters, hungry for a scandal, started digging into our family's past, unearthing skeletons we'd all tried so hard to bury. It turned out that the groom's public rant had opened Pandora's box, and now every dirty secret of the family was plastered across headlines. The first bombshell? A years-old property dispute between my parents and Aunt Lisa. Apparently, when Grandma decided to divide her estate, Mom manipulated the will to ensure Lisa got less than her fair share. Lisa, who had always been vocal about her grievances, gave an exclusive interview to a tabloid detailing how selfish and controlling Mom really was. The article included screenshots of heated text exchanges and even a recording of one of their arguments. Overnight, our family became the talk of the town, not for Emily's failed wedding, but for its toxic dynamics. Then came the second revelation, Uncle Rob's embezzlement scandal from his business partners. While this wasn't exactly news to us, he'd quietly disappeared for 6 months a few years back. It resurfaced with a vengeance. Someone leaked documents showing that he'd used family funds to cover his debts, leaving other relatives furious. Dad, who had unknowingly co-signed some of those loans, found himself dragged into the mess. His name appeared in multiple articles, painting him as either complicit or naive. Either way, it didn't look good. Amidst all this chaos, I received another call from Melissa. Her tone was urgent, almost breathless. "You need to hear this," she said. "They're blaming you again." Apparently, during a frantic family meeting, which I was conveniently excluded from, Mom declared that if I hadn't posted those vacation photos online, none of this would have happened. "If your brother hadn't acted like such a drama queen," she reportedly said, "we wouldn't be dealing with all these reporters." The irony was laughable. Here they were, drowning in scandals of their own making, yet somehow I was still the scapegoat. But the piece de resistance came when Grandma, recovering from her fainting spell, gave an impromptu interview to a local news channel. Sitting in her hospital bed, looking frail but defiant, she blamed Emily for everything. "She disrespected her family," Grandma croaked, pointing a shaky finger at the camera, "and karma has punished her for it." Within hours, the clip went viral, sparking debates on social media about generational curses and familial loyalty. Some commenters sided with Grandma, others mocked her outdated views. Meanwhile, Emily, whose reputation was already in tatters, spiraled further into despair. By the time Melissa finished updating me, I felt a mix of amusement and disdain. Amusement because karma truly worked in mysterious ways, and disdain because none of them seemed capable of taking responsibility for their actions. Instead of addressing their mistakes, they doubled down on blame games and denial. And here I was, basking in paradise while they tore each other apart. Karma, indeed, had served them well. As my vacation neared its original end date, I realized I wasn't ready to return to the chaos of my family's world. Instead of boarding a flight back home, I extended my stay by an entire week, because why rush paradise? But this extra time wasn't just about lounging on the beach or sipping cocktails under palm trees. It became an opportunity for something far more meaningful. Sitting on my private balcony one morning, overlooking the endless expanse of turquoise water, an idea struck me. What if I turned this experience into a story? Not just any story, but my story, a raw, unfiltered account of how being excluded from my own sister's wedding led me to rediscover my worth. I spent the next few days pouring my thoughts onto paper, or rather, into my laptop. The words flowed effortlessly, fueled by weeks of pent-up emotions and reflections. I titled it, From Being Cut Out to Winning, My Journey to Self-Worth. It was part memoir, part manifesto, a tale of betrayal, self-discovery, and ultimate liberation. By the time I finished writing, I felt lighter, as though I'd shed layers of resentment and guilt that had weighed me down for years. Little did I know, this decision would change everything. Before I even returned home, the book gained traction online. I posted snippets of it on social media, teasing chapters with captions like, "When life hands you lemons, trade them for margaritas in paradise." Readers connected deeply with my story, sharing their own experiences of feeling undervalued by loved ones. Within days, hashtags like #CutOutToWin and #SelfWorthJourney were trending. Then came the email that left me stunned. A Hollywood producer reached out, offering to buy the rights to adapt my story into a film. The subject line read, "Your story deserves to be seen." At first, I thought it was a prank, but the offer was real and generous. For once, karma wasn't just poetic, it was profitable. But amidst all this unexpected success, there was still Emily. On the last day of my extended vacation, a handwritten letter arrived at my resort. It was from her, filled with tear-streaked apologies and promises to make amends. She begged for forgiveness, claiming she'd learned her lesson and vowing to never take anyone for granted again. Part of me wanted to believe her, but another part, the stronger, wiser part, knew better. This wasn't remorse, it was desperation. They had pushed me away when it suited them, and now they needed me to clean up their mess. Well, not anymore. Instead of replying, I sent her a postcard featuring a serene beach scene. On the back, I wrote simply, "Life is too short to waste on people who don't value you." No explanation, no apology, just the truth. As I dropped it into the mailbox, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. This wasn't just closure, it was freedom. For so long, I had been the family's fallback plan, the one who fixed problems and smoothed over cracks. Now I was done. Done being taken for granted, done bending over backward for people who refused to see my worth. By the time I boarded my flight home, I wasn't the same person who had left weeks earlier. I carried with me not just souvenirs and suntans, but a renewed sense of purpose. My family could scramble to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives without me. Meanwhile, I had a movie deal to negotiate and a newfound confidence to embrace. Karma had delivered its verdict, and I couldn't have been happier with the outcome. As the sun dipped below the horizon on my final day of vacation, I sat on the beach with a drink in hand, watching the waves crash against the shore. For the first time in years, I felt truly at peace. The weight of my family's expectations, their constant demands and ungratefulness, was no longer mine to carry. Every call they made, every desperate plea for help, had been silenced by my decision to prioritize myself. And it felt incredible. Reflecting on everything that had happened, I realized how much I had sacrificed for them over the years. I was always the fallback plan, the one who fixed problems while receiving little gratitude in return. But now, Now I was free. Free from their guilt trips, free from their manipulations, free from being treated like an afterthought. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same people who excluded me because they thought I wouldn't mind were now scrambling to include me when things fell apart. Karma had delivered its verdict, and I couldn't have scripted a better ending. What struck me most was the clarity I'd gained during this journey. By choosing myself, I didn't just survive, I thrived. My book deal and potential movie adaptation weren't just milestones. They were proof that taking control of your life could lead to unexpected rewards. Sitting there under the stars, I smirked as I imagined my family's faces when they found out about my success. Would they celebrate it or claim I stole their spotlight? Either way, it didn't matter anymore. Their opinions no longer held power over me. The phrase, "life is too short to waste on people who don't value you," echoed in my mind, not as bitterness, but as liberation. I wasn't angry anymore. I was grateful for the lessons learned, for the strength I'd discovered within myself, and for finally understanding that I deserved better. As I packed my bags the next morning, I knew I was leaving more than just paradise behind. I was leaving behind the version of me who let others dictate his worth. That man was gone forever, and good riddance.